Hello and welcome to our podcast. My name is Darren Reeves.
My name's Neil Sillett.
And we are...
Sillett and Reevesy.
Exactly, Sillett and Reevesy. We're now doing episode 8 of our podcast, Sill. Yeah, we've been doing this now for 2 months.
No,
mate, I don't think I have. I think this is episode 8. We've been around now for 2 months doing this, and it feels like you came up to me 2 months ago and said, how do you fancy doing a podcast?
Yeah.
And I thought, do you know what? I think it's a great idea.
At the garden centre.
Well, it was at the garden centre, wasn't it? And we
Yeah.
were there, and old Knightsy walks in halfway through, and Trevor.
Yeah, so
And,
there's a guess you can't have, Knightsy. Right?
Oh, is he bad news?
Well, no, he's not bad news at all, but it just has to be at midnight, so you're tired and you just want to go to sleep. Knightsy can speak for a few minutes.
Can do it.
Put you to sleep in no
time. The
time.
insomnia cure is all over.
Yeah. So, no,
oh, bless him.
Great that it's the eighth podcast that we're doing, and we're getting some good feedback, which is nice, and good friendly chat about the sport that's happened and will happen.
Yeah. Well, this week there's been a few international football matches going on, hasn't there?
Yeah, there has.
And Lee Carsley's taken over at England. You tipped him to me months ago, like you had some inside knowledge, Sill.
Well, maybe a little bit of FA knowledge coming in there, but we did say this might happen on our first podcast at Old Thorns. Do you remember?
Yes, I do.
So that was one of our main talking points back then, a couple of months back, and I feel that the country has been, very pleased with what he's done, and certainly the squads he's picked were exciting young squads.
Certainly.
And the results he's had, he couldn't have done any more than that, really.
Well, the one that stands out to me, I didn't really watch the matches. I've just seen the goals. Obviously, Harry Kane had his 100th appearance, wasn't it, on Tuesday? Was it Tuesday?
It was
Tuesday,
the
second one, and scored 2 goals on it as well. So that was brilliant for him. And the person that seems to be coming out to me is Madueke from Chelsea. He's been picked. He had a great hat-trick for Chelsea before the internationals.
He did.
How did he play with himself?
Yeah, he's a live wire, mate. He likes to run in behind defenders, got good feet, silky sort of skills. Mm-hmm. Will commit defenders.
I didn't even realise he was an England pick, actually, when he was playing for Chelsea. It was only this week I've gone,
yeah, I mean, there was talk of him going out on loan this year and not being at Chelsea.
Right.
But that's worked out very well for him, and, an inspired keep by Chelsea.
Yep.
An inspired big pick by Carzo, as well as was probably the man of the match on Tuesday, Angel Gomez, who was fantastic.
Right.
Played in the 6th position, the deepest of the midfield, so Rice was sort of in advance of him and making runs into the box like he did in the first game. But Gomez's will to want to pass past opponents and pass forward and be progressive was certainly a difference from what we've been witnessing
We
before.
haven't seen that for a long time from England, have we? It really has been sideways and backwards all through the Euros and the World Cups, which has got us a long way, to be fair. And it makes me sit back as a fan and go, what do I know?
Yep.
And has got us a long way. But we want to see exciting football. We want to be entertained. Yeah. And Carsley's definitely gone and done that this last 2 weeks.
He has. I mean, I've known him for a long time, I guess since 1998, 99. You like that TBC Sawgrass mug, don't you?
On the mug. Just had a little look.
There you go.
I've gone the wrong way.
What a place that is, by the way. What a place.
Sawgrass.
That
Did you get it from there?
I got it from there. I played the 17th.
Yeah.
The Island Green.
Yes.
Yeah, I had 8 goes and hit the wood 4 times and hit the water 4 times.
Oh, my word.
With an 8 iron from 120 yards. So there you go.
Well, mate, every time you watch it on the TV, you remember that, don't you?
I do remember it, yeah. So, that, the progress I think you could see, and the difference was definitely evident in the 2 games that England played, and a massive big up to Harry Kane. 100 games is something in itself, but to score 2 cracking goals in that game was unbelievable.
So, we saw a quiet Harry Kane in the Euros.
Yeah.
Do you think he was different because of the formation and the style of play?
I think he was.
Or is he just getting his energy back?
I think that's one thing for sure. He's definitely more energetic now. He'd been at the end of a long, stressful first season where they expected to win the league in Germany, and that didn't happen, did it? So that was a big, big negative on the move for him, really. But I think the way England played, and you ended up getting 10 players behind the ball at times, even though you had possession.
Yeah.
which is a crazy thing to say, but
is.
he comes deep. He still was involved in deep play in the middle third of the pitch, but unlike before, and I'm not saying it was wrong before, because like you just said, we got to 2 finals with Gareth, so you can't knock it too much. But I felt that Madwakey, as you said earlier on, Gordon, was one that ran behind and made use of the space that Kane was coming deep and making. So he was dropping in deep. He's got great ability on the ball, Harry Kane, so he can get it, use wide players, and then if you've got other players running in, so Grealish and Rice scored from midfield. Grealish scored from the 10, Rice scored from a deeper midfield position. So they're examples of players getting into the box.
Yes, which is what we want to see from deep, although I have to say their celebrations of the goals were very different.
They were, weren't they? Yeah.
So
I'm not having it that you can't celebrate a goal.
Yes, I know. I get the respect thing because Rice, used to play for
3 games for
Ireland.
Yeah.
So he doesn't want to upset the crowd. No difference to win a league match, no difference to anything. But at the end of the day, you're doing your job and you've done well, and you now work for that team.
That's right.
You're there for a reason.
Yeah,
and everyone else is an opponent.
In any other sales industry or anything, if you went to a new company, you can't say you did a huge deal. You're not going to go yay, and celebrate that. So I find it a little bit.
I think it's a fan thing more than somebody who works in it is your job.
Yeah.
It's a fan thing and it's a respect thing. But Grealish clearly had the opposite feeling.
He did, didn't he? And I think there was some emotion coming out there, wasn't you? From not being selected in the summer for the championships.
I'm sure he's very disappointed.
Yeah, and I think he showed some glimpses of what he's about in the 2 games. He's a threat when he's on the ball. He's difficult to knock off the ball. He's not got electric pace, but he's got guile and he's got a way of moving that is aesthetic to the eye. And I think defenders find it difficult to get a ball off him. Mm-hmm. And he's probably the most foul player in the world at the moment. But I think he did well in the 2 games, and it was quite refreshing. I think, summarising it, it's Carzo's job to lose now, really.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Was it just these 2 games he's come in for, or is it for a period of National League games? What's the deal?
Yeah, it seems to be the autumn games, which is October and November as well.
So there's more to come.
There's more to come. Then they've got Greece and Finland again in the next break.
Right.
So those 2 games will probably determine what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I think there's an energy around him and there's an energy around the squad. The funny thing is, knowing him as well as I do, and when he's interviewed, he's ready to burst into laughter.
Okay.
Right? Because he likes to have fun, and he's a fun guy to be around. His articulation isn't long and of Simon Jordan vocabulary, but it's funny. He's succinct, and he's great to be around. So I think I would love him to get a job.
Well, we've seen that coming up from the under-21s has worked with Gareth Southgate, and it's been the best appointment, I think, in an England capacity since Bobby Robson and Terry Venables, if I'm honest.
Yep.
And we talked about this with Capello and Sven and so on. Great, massive names and personalities. But the reality is we want results. And we want entertaining football. And if Carsley's going to give that to England, and he's come through the same way...
Why go anywhere else?
What is the point?
You're right. I mean, all those names you've mentioned probably had bigger club careers. Well, they have, because Carzo hasn't had much of a managerial club career.
I wouldn't even think of him as a manager.
No. I mean, he had spells at Brentford and I think a couple of other clubs as interim manager. But he's not the same, stature as your Svens and Capellos.
But actually, that takes the pressure off.
It does a little bit.
I think so.
And what's the difference in international football is not the same as club football.
Very different.
Those guys had great club records, but they didn't do as well as Gareth Southgate in international level.
No, definitely not. So I'm really interested to see how that picks up.
Yeah.
When we're not in major competition, this National League thing, I still can't quite work it out, if I'm honest with you. But, for me, there's friendlies, there's qualifiers.
Yeah.
There's competitions, and we're so tuned to watching the competitions. When we come back out of one of these first few games, it does drop down a bit, but we can't ask for any more. So
definitely.
And Scotland were playing as well.
Yeah, Scotland played. They found it tough. I mean, we mentioned the first game on last week's podcast. The second one, they were leading. Scott McTominay again scored the goal that put them in front. They were in front for a long time in Portugal. Then Roberto Martinez brought his sub on, who scored his 901st international goal to win the game. It was a great cross that came in from the left, and he gets there in the box. He arrives at the right time at 37, 38, 39, wherever he is now. I don't know.
Well, he's got to be up around there somewhere now, isn't he? But we're talking about Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't even mention his name.
No, you didn't even need to.
No.
You know, there's only, Ronaldo for me is like when Beckham left Man United and Ronaldo came and replaced that number 7 shirt. I thought, well, nobody could be David Beckham. And even though I've been mistaken for him a couple of times, not with glasses on, with glasses
Ronaldo
off,
or David Beckham?
from a massive distance. Yeah, I did.
So, have you got your six-pack? Like, the pair of them had a good six-pack.
Oh, no, I was wearing one of these puffer jackets.
Well,
so
it's
luckily
nice,
you
that puffer jacket, by the way.
Yeah, it's got a bit chilly down in on the south coast. We're in Sill's garden today, in fact, aren't we? So
the bats come out in about half an hour.
You can't talk about them like that. Oh, a series. Yeah, okay, right. Well, I look forward to that if it doesn't get too dark.
Good.
So, Ronaldo had a thing to say, I believe.
He did, didn't he? Yeah. Bit of a surprise, but obviously there was a lot of interviews after his, reaching 900 goals in the first international game, and then he got his 901st against Scotland. And there was obviously a lot of British press around being Scotland. And they asked him about the situation at Man United, regrets and leaving and having a second spell. And he wasn't very complimentary about Erik ten Hag. And his view was really, summarising that interview, was that he doesn't think it's going to improve much whilst he's there.
No, well, I was surprised he was given a new contract, if I'm honest. And I was on tour earlier this year with a Man United fan, Gareth, and we went to watch Man United Everton as well. And we're right by the dugout, and not the dugout, sorry, the tunnel on the corner there. And he was like, wasn't enthusiastic at all. And he's now got the new contract, and they've started where they left off. Really,
they have, yeah.
I mean, they've had a week off. Maybe their luck will change.
They're down on the south coast, I believe, on Saturday, 12:30 kickoff against Southampton, who found life tough in their first 3 games in the Premier League.
Yep, and that's no surprise, though. To be fair,
no. There's similarities so far in the media regards the way Southampton are playing and the way Burnley started off last season. Yeah. So an insistence and not a stubbornness, but a belief in the way that they're playing out from the back will be the way that they'll go forward. That's fine. You have to have a club philosophy and a game model that suits you and your squad, and is you're not going to change from that if you're the coach. But I think changes came at Burnley too late last season, and you have to be adaptable at times, I think, and maybe this is a big game for both Manchester United and Southampton. I don't think Erik ten Hag's in any immediate danger of losing his job, but I feel he will start to feel the shadow of Ruud van Nistelrooy over his shoulder at some point.
Yes, yeah.
As we said before.
Well, he's had the vote of confidence, hasn't he?
Oh, baby.
I think from the board, which is always...
that's a cloud, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's always going to be the first manager of a season to be sacked.
Yeah, there will be. There's been a few already, I think.
Well, has there?
Yeah, there's been about 3 or 4 already.
I was thinking Premier League, but who? So I know, is it... I want to say Peterborough. No, who's...
Yeah, no, not Peterborough. Darren's still there. There's been a few.
I can't... I'd have to look it up
now.
Well,
Steve Bruce has gone back into management.
Yes,
so the Blackpool manager got the sack, Neil Critchley.
Right.
And Steve Bruce has taken the job after retiring and coming out of retirement. But he said he couldn't put it down, and it was keeping him awake at night, the fact he wanted to get back involved.
I'm sure we'll see Sam Allardyce as well somewhere at some point.
Sam's got to come back, hasn't he?
I'm sure we will. He seems to be the one that does.
Yeah.
Just quickly staying on the internationals, I know we digress a little bit, but Bellamy had his first games as manager of Wales.
He did, and some interesting quotes from the Wales manager about behaviour and people waving arms in training. He won't stand for any of it. If
behaviour?
Yeah.
From
there
Bellamy?
you go, Bellas, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so, but the response from the squad was fantastic. They played really well and got a draw in the first game against Turkey. and they went to Montenegro and won 2-1. They had a 2-0 lead very early, I believe. Don't quote me on this, but quote me. On 7 minutes, they were 2-0 up or something like that. Montenegro came back, but the performance again was excellent, and they showed a lot of quality.
I think for any international team, but a team like Wales, any away win is a great result.
It is,
for anybody anywhere.
Yeah, and that wouldn't have been easy going out there and playing.
Sure.
And they seem to have taken on board all the things he's wanted to get over to them in training, and they've taken that on board and put it into practice in the games, playing out from the back, pressing with a bit more intensity, and fair play to him. Started off very well.
Brilliant.
And he says that's as bad as they're going to be.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a quote for you.
Yeah, we're as bad as we're going to be.
Yeah.
Good God. Maybe that's about us as well, see. We could use that. We're as bad, if you like what we're doing, this is as bad as it gets. It's only going to get better.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Now, Sill, I'm going to move on to golf a little bit now because you gave a little tip last week to me, and you said beef.
Did we have the photo
1.
up of beef? Did we on last week's podcast?
So we had Carsley up. I had a problem with the beef one.
Okay.
With the
you had a bit of beef about the beef one.
So there was something to do with. I won't bore you to tears with the file, but in the end, I went, no, I've just got to get this.
Right.
Get this up on the internet.
Well, we tipped Andrew Johnston in Crans in Switzerland 70-1.
Mm-hmm.
He was one shot off the playoff. Finished third.
Wow.
There was a playoff between Matt Wallace, who was brilliant actually over the 4 days, but 14-1 a place for so 5 a place, 75 quid.
So did you put a little bit of money on this one?
A little bit on each way. Yeah,
so
8 places.
So
a fifth of the odds. So nice 14-1 winner for us there. And we've moved now over to Ireland for the Irish Open.
Yep.
Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry. Tom McGibbon is the host.
Now, where are they playing that? This
in Ireland. That's all I can tell you.
Well, the only reason I'm asking because I used to I did some work at the K Club.
Right, it's not the K Club.
It's not the K Club. Right.
There's a lot of water there. I know there's water at the K Club.
Yes. Yeah.
But it seems more coastal and very. It's actually the setting and
it looks stunning.
Stunning, yeah.
Okay, well we'll keep an eye on
that. But very
tough.
Looks really, really tough. Mm-hmm. When I last checked, 5 under was leading after 2 rounds, which as an example, Shane had made a good recovery from bogey in the first and second holes. I think he's now 3 or 4 under. Mm-hmm. Rory eagled one today early on.
He's going to want this though, isn't he?
Yeah,
Rory,
he'll want to win this.
Anything, especially losing the major earlier this season as well.
Yeah,
to go home, he's gonna.
And his last appearance in Ireland, he missed the cut when they had the Open out there.
Yeah,
rounds of 78 and 80. So that was a disaster for him. So I think he want to. Turn that around.
Definitely. It'll be interesting to see what he does.
Yeah, my big up as well. As I said, Matt Wallace was a big up. They move on to Wentworth after this, the Irish Open. Wentworth's fantastic.
Now, I love Wentworth.
I'm going to give you one tip before we move to Wentworth.
Oh, go on.
All right, so Eric Van Rooyen. I have no idea how he's doing in the second round.
Okay.
He went round pretty steady first round, but Van Rooyen can have spells where he goes 4, 5, 6 birdies on the trot. I don't think that's going to happen in Ireland because this course looks tough. But at 28-30-1, Van Rooyen's my each-way bet.
It's worth something.
Yeah.
Right. And in each way, again, you say top 5? Is that how it works?
You'll get top 5 still today, yeah. Okay. If he makes the cut. I don't know what he's done.
Well, anyway, right now, that's where we're at with it. So have a little look.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Now, also, so going on to Wentworth. Yeah. I've been to Wentworth many, many times to watch the BMW Championship. It's like the flagship, really, isn't it? That isn't a major. No. You sort of think, it's what you feel it should be, so on. Yeah. And it's accessible for us just off the M25.
Yep.
And
sell out every year now.
It's brilliant
because of the response. The way they put it on is fantastic.
Yeah, it's just perfect. And in fact, last time I went was 2 years ago.
Right.
And it was the day the Queen passed away.
Oh wow!
We got the news whilst I was on the 10th.
Yeah.
10th hole, and you sort of always remember where you were when things like that happen.
Yeah.
So, and in fact, my wife Sian came with me that day as well. It's not often we go to sporting events together.
No.
I
think you remember who won that year?
Oh no!
Ooh, there's a tester for you.
Blimey! I can't remember. I know the Queen died that weekend, but I cannot remember who won.
I'm testing myself here. I've got a feeling Shane might have won that one. Shane Lowry.
He might have, yeah.
Ryan Fox, I think, won last year. the 2023
You've got
champion.
me now completely on that.
He's playing in Ireland at the moment, but with a dodgy hip. So he might know how I feel.
Well, I was gonna say, but you beat me to it.
So it's unlikely he's going to be in a fit state to defend his title if he did win it last year.
Yep.
But I'm pretty sure he did.
We'll have a look. So so Wentworth is that next weekend?
That's next weekend.
Next weekend. And it's a sellout.
Yeah, so you can't get a ticket.
I'll be watching that on TV then.
Yeah, we'll get him, won't we? Wentworth.
We must know
a podcast.
We must know someone. You'd think so, wouldn't you? So we'll see you next week. When you, it looks like a little bit like golf. We've got
the edge of the 14th fairway there.
We've done Rowlands Castle and we've done Old Thorns. We can do Wentworth.
We can do Wentworth.
I've done a few gigs in the clubhouse.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. Chris Tarrant always presents.
Right.
You know,
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
That's it. You know,
Was.
He did. Look at you. You know your stuff.
That's going back a bit, isn't it?
Yeah, and
Lenny Henry did Was, didn't
he? Mate, you're doing well here.
There was a cage, right, and Was.
Yeah.
Where if you got a question wrong, they just cover you with his gunk and stuff. And you used to love it, that Chris Tarrant.
It's a bit like the ITV's version of Crackerjack, basically.
It was,
what we're talking.
Yeah,
brilliant. So I'd always see him. There's a lot of celebrities you see there, and you always think of Brucey and Tarbuck and all that bunch of there, and and also I'd see Prince Andrew walking around the course many times as well back in the day. Right. So so a bit of royalty as well.
Yeah.
But
I doubt he's invited anymore. But that's not for us to
exactly
to ponder over. It is a fantastic venue.
It's just brilliant.
The hospitality and the food and the service and everything there.
Everything
is top notch.
I totally agree. Absolutely, and you want to be there on the 18th, don't you, Sill, with a glass of champagne and a plate of lobster.
Well, I'm not a big champagne man, but a glass of bone and a
okay, you'll be there. You'll be there. And we won't talk about bone. I've been there looking for the for the wine, and the place is a ghost town, Sill. I was there on a Monday evening after the Monaco Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Drove up
Grand Prix. So what's happening to the Grand Prix this weekend?
So we're in Azerbaijan. Well, Formula One, I'm not there this weekend, is in Baku, Azerbaijan, on a street circuit.
Okay.
So Sill, they literally build this for this weekend. And we were only talking about the infrastructure in Paris for the Olympics, weren't we, today? And how they put all those grandstands up and the arenas they create, and then it all comes back down again, packed away. So Baku.
So Baku. Have you been to Baku?
I've never.
No.
Never.
The only thing I remember about Baku is Chelsea.
Yeah.
Chelsea beating Arsenal in one of the European finals.
Yeah.
I think it was 4-1.
Okay.
It was about 4 or 5 years ago. Mate, no, it'd be longer than that now.
I can't remember.
Yeah. And Eden Hazard was brilliant in that game.
So it would have been a lot more than that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So I love skylines of cities, and they've got the most amazing mirrored sort of skyscrapers.
Really?
So it's got its sort of signature look for Baku, but they've got the longest straight in Formula One.
So how fast do they go down there?
Oh, they'll be doing 230, 240 miles an hour.
Wow.
Down there, and there's two little moments I can remember, all involving Red Bulls. So Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo a few years ago took each other out, teammates, took each other out at the end of the straight. Yeah. Total disaster. And
the snail came through and won.
That's it. Yeah. Well, it was. And then Max Verstappen had a big blowout puncture.
He was
maybe
third
3
at the
years
time.
ago. No, there's only 2 cars for each team.
Oh, right.
But this was, and I'm starting to think now. It must have been Verstappen and Ricciardo. Yeah, it was. And and he crashed out in the lead. So things happen. Yeah. In Baku, definitely. It's to me, it's a street circuit, a little bit like Singapore, where they go to next, in fact. So
Singapore, who do you think's going to win in Baku?
Well, looking at the practice today, so Max Verstappen was fastest this morning, which is unexpected, but he was right back down in 6th or 7th in second practice today.
Okay.
Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari, who's the winner 2 weeks ago.
He's not the winemaker, is he, Charles
He's
Leclerc?
not. We've discussed that. So he in the Ferrari, he was fastest in second practice, but Lando Norris, who is basically now tipped to, McLaren are tipped to get the lead in the Constructors' Championship this week from Red Bull. They're only 8 points behind.
Okay.
And Lando is 62 points behind in the Drivers' Championship, but in the best car with 8 rounds to go.
Still a possibility.
It's still a possibility. But he was right back in practice today. I don't know what's been going on. When I say right back, I'm not talking football term, but really sort of a long way off time-wise.
Yeah.
So it's all there to be done, but we've got qualifying tomorrow afternoon and then the race at midday on Sunday.
Right.
I'll be tuning in after a little coffee with Charlie Feather beforehand,
Okay.
my Formula One Monaco buddy.
Yeah, your agent.
That's right, yeah. Monaco agent.
Yeah.
I've got a Surrey agent and a Hampshire agent who was on the other week, Mr. Orford, so we joke about that, get the odd gig through him. So Formula One's back weekend again. And
you didn't really say who you thought were going to win.
No, I didn't. I've got to say, I want to see Lando Norris now come in and really catch Max Verstappen up. So we've got a championship race.
I think I've read, and I could be wrong, that his team have told the other guy.
You're absolutely right. Look at you showing an interest.
That Lando is in position to win it.
Oscar Piastri, his McLaren teammate, who really, he's basically, Piastri has got a contract that shows he has equal number one status in the team with Lando Norris, and mathematically he could still win the championship if he wins everything, as could Lando, but Lando is 40 points ahead, so the chances are
best chance lies there.
Correct. And they need to put all their eggs in one basket now with only eight rounds left out of 24, so we're 2/3 of the way through. And Piastri, of course, doesn't want it, and his manager Mark Webber played second fiddle to Sebastian Vettel at Red Bull a number of years ago and hated it.
Fiddle to Vettel.
Correct. Let's say that when you've had a few. So there's lots to play for in Formula One, as you know. I absolutely love it, and I'm impressed that you've seen what's going on.
I saw that they told
Oscar
him
Piastri
to behave himself,
and I think
let the other fellow win.
For me, it's absolutely the right thing to do. Now then, I've got to move across to my next little slide now, so we can read it. Sill.
Yeah, we're going on about cricket now.
Yeah, let's talk about the cricket. England have had a great summer.
Brilliant.
You've talked about Anderson, just Atkinson,
all summer.
Excuse that. Doing really well. However.
Well, they lost the last test to Sri Lanka, and they've taken a lot of grief, a lot of flack from a couple of ex-England captains about being complacent and taking their foot off the gas. I think there's some validity in that. I think they played shots in the first innings that were more like the shots you'd see over the road at Purbrook Heath than on a test match.
It's human nature, though, isn't it? Once the pressure's off,
yeah, probably.
You don't want to see it from a professional setup, but I think it's just human nature that you can't help it.
Also, they're a young team.
Yeah.
You've lost, over the space of a year, you've lost Anderson and Broad, two very, very experienced players who probably wouldn't have stood for that. Stokes has been out injured for the last 3 tests. So it's a young team with a captain that's an interim captain. Yeah. So, there were factors that were probably appointed that it might have gone that way. But certainly, as you said, a 5-1 summer. So they've won 5 of the 6 tests. Very positive, really. And I think Jamie Smith and Gus Atkinson are massive positives. I'm already looking forward to the Ashes next winter, which will be massive for... I can't remember the last time we did go out because we've taken a few canings down there recently.
Oh, yeah.
But Atkinson will be one, and Hampshire have got one that I want to see make a break into the squad. He's in the one-day squads, John Turner.
Okay.
Right-arm fast bowler, and he is quick. And played in a couple of championship games and got wickets, but also gave away a few runs. But that doesn't seem to put off Stokes and McCullum. They're not bothered about that. If they think there's a wicket taker in there, they'll give him a chance. And I'm bigging up John Turner. I want to see John Turner.
Well, let's keep an eye on that. Maybe there's a little tip there for the future as well to see what comes on.
Yeah.
So and you
they've
say
already moved into the T20s.
T20s, yeah. Now this again for me. I get Test cricket. I love Test cricket. I've not watched as much of it as I was 20 years ago, or even 30 years ago in the 90s now. But T20, explain to me the difference, the rules. What is it? Speeding the game up?
It massively speeds. So there's only 120 balls,
right?
So it takes about an hour and a half, massively, really, to get the innings done. Then you have 15-20 minute break, and then the other team get an hour and a half.
So we're getting 4 hours, I suppose, in total of entertainment, half a day of sport as opposed to 5 full days in most cricket. When we compare that to other sports, in football it's 90 minutes plus the break. Formula One, it's a couple of hours mixed in with bits and bobs. But it just makes it more accessible for people, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And the crowds have been good, and it brings finance into cricket. If you go to a championship game, and we talked about Surrey last week, I gave them an early championship medal, didn't I? They got beat, and they still haven't won it yet. So I was a bit early. I bet they're glad I tipped them to win the league last week, or said they'd already done it, because they haven't.
Right.
But you won't see... Well, if you see 100 people at those games, championship games, that's a lot. So these T20 games brings in an audience because it's short, because it's exciting. They have to hit the first ball for 6 or 4 if they can.
And when are they playing them? What time of day?
They play in the evenings mainly. Okay. So there isn't a technical issue, which we won't go too into, but especially this time of year playing the games, because the dew sits on the pitch from about 7 o'clock. So it starts to, like now, it's getting a bit chilly and the game changes.
But the thing is, compare it to football, and I'm going to compare it to my industry of music, is we have to perform and entertain when other people aren't working. So that is evenings and weekends. Football gets it. You know, you want to get the crowds. Formula One do it on a weekend on Sunday.
It's a great point, isn't it? The championship games are played from 11 o'clock till 5 o'clock during the week. So there's not many people can go and watch that.
It's as simple as that, really. And it's all a business. These teams, it costs money. People need to be paid. And the maintenance of these cricket grounds and the buildings and everything and the administration, it all costs money. So this makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely it does. So talking about your singing, you're gigging tomorrow night?
Yeah, I am. So I'm in Evesham tomorrow night, Worcestershire.
Do you know what I think Evesham's famous for?
No, I don't.
Asparagus. There's some of the best asparagus farms in the country.
Really?
Around Evesham.
Where have you got this from? Is this what I've got to talk about tomorrow night?
There's even an asparagus restaurant.
Is there?
Just does asparagus, yeah.
Well, you know what asparagus does, don't you?
Yeah, it makes your wee stink.
Well, that's it. So I'm dreading the half-time interval. Perhaps I'll ask how it was after. I'll come on and do the
Maybe
do the
I've dreamt that.
I don't know. This is interesting. So anyway, I'm at the Henrysian Theatre,
right?
And it's only my second show of the year, actually, because I've been so busy with Queen and Formula One and everything else going on. So doing a bit of Billy Joel tomorrow night at the Henrysian. It's my favourite music play. It's a bit of a labour of love, really, for me. I'm doing these shows because I love it.
Yeah.
And if anybody else wants to join in with me and enjoy it with me,
please come along.
Yeah, definitely. So
there's tickets still available?
There's tickets still available, exactly. So we're playing there tomorrow night, and then we're in Manchester at Bridgewater Hall on Thursday night, Thursday the 19th.
And where can they get tickets?
Well, if you go to uptownjoel.com, just Google it.
Yeah.
All the links are on the website, or go to the theatre website, your local theatre website. It's all there.
Right.
You know, just what's on is the bit.
It's
you
a
need
great show, so you
Thank
should
you,
be
Sill.
supported. You should be supported.
So so my brain is completely into that world. You know now. So the next thing is I tuned in to the US Open semi-final of tennis.
Draper.
Last week, and I don't really watch tennis except for Wimbledon. It's not my, I'd say it's like my 6th or 7th favourite sport, and I love sport. But when I found out we've got a Brit in the semi-finals, I need to watch this.
Yep.
So we popped it on the TV, did a bit of cooking, and sat down. Saw them come out about 10 past, 8, wasn't it, last Friday night? So almost like this time last week, really. I suppose. Yeah, it is. So I loved watching it, and for the first few games I thought, hello, he's doing really, really well, and he gets through to and tiebreak was the second set, wasn't it? I'm trying to think. The first set he got broken and lost 7-5, and then the second set makes it to tiebreak, but I couldn't believe it when he started throwing up.
It was unbelievable
on the court. Where you got to go, and there's mopping it all up, throwing sick everywhere in the towels, and everything else. We've now got to get the cleaners in. We've now got to do health and safety and everything else. And I
felt sorry for him, and
do you know what?
He was badly affected, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he's come from nowhere I'm sure in the tennis world, people have been following him for a while.
Yeah.
But from my perspective, I'm like, who's this guy? I know there's Dan Evans, and obviously we've had Andy Murray, the Scot, and to follow, and Henman before that. Yeah, I couldn't name many more because but I just thought he's a good guy. He's one of the lads.
Yeah, he seems to be a great kid.
From East London, is it?
He's from Cobham Way, I think. Sorry.
Oh, South. Okay, yeah, not far
and you
from
say he's a Coventry City fan, right?
Well, Sill, they mentioned Coventry City on the commentary, and I thought, right, well, I'm going to have to text you here because of your connections and with the statue and so on at the moment, and Tom Grennan helping out.
Yeah,
so we need a few more celebrity names.
Draper and get Grennan to turn up.
Get in touch, mate. Get in touch with him
for the launch. He played brilliantly through the tournament, but I think as we said on the last podcast, I didn't realise how good Yannick Sinner was.
Well,
but
again, we all know Djokovic and Nadal, and you know,
and this is the new era, isn't it? These two guys,
is.
Alcaraz and Sinner.
For me, just body language is Sinner's body. It was robotic.
Yeah.
He wasn't even into a sweat. He was just going through the motions, waiting for the right times. Whereas Draper was completely out of his depth and hadn't experienced this feeling before.
No.
Obviously, really anxious, really nervous. You know, the throwing up, the sweat.
Yeah.
You know, he was changing his shoes.
95% of humidity. Yeah.
Was it that hot out there?
Boiling, yeah.
Wow.
And not just the heat, the actual lack of air around.
Well, it's
you,
the biggest tennis theatre in the world, isn't it, out there in New York?
Flushing Meadows, great place. If you land in JFK and you're going in towards Manhattan or onto the island, you pass it. It's on your right as you go through Jamaica and all that sort of those sort of suburbs of New York, Queens, and it looks a fantastic. You know, I think my lad Ollie went to see the Williams sisters play each other a couple of years ago.
Okay.
But he said, what a theatre that is.
Do you know what? I've driven that drive many times, and I've never realised that Flushing Meadows is right there.
Yeah, you go right past it.
And I did see the skyline
probably sat
from
on the left-hand side of the car, right?
Well, do you know what? I wasn't driving, to be fair. I've done a few limos on that trip, to be honest with you. But it was just great entertainment, and now we've got somebody new to follow.
Yeah. And he's been beaten today in the Davis Cup.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, but I think he's still a hangover from the... from the US Open. He did brilliant. He's got to the semi-finals. That should earn him points, world ranking points. It will earn him a lot of money.
Yep.
So he can now move on a little bit from that. It didn't make me laugh because my mate Rory Delap used to have anxiety before games. I mean, people don't realise being in a changing room before a game, any level, but top level especially, when you can hear the crowd start to build outside and you've been there in theatres and that starts to happen, it gets the butterflies going, and some people handle it in different ways. But Rory used to go out for the second half and automatically spew up as soon as he ran onto the pitch.
It's interesting, isn't it, how these feelings. In fact, it's because we care. We want it to be great. We want to do well. We were proud. Your family are proud. You're always out there doing it. You're proud of a sense of achievement, and the dedication that goes into getting to this level. Is it's only a small percentage of people that can actually do it. And have that determination. To make it happen, But Rory Delap, I'll always remember him for the long throw. That's right. That's what he's known for, isn't it?
There was
the longest throw.
Did you see? There was a trend this week on social media. Barclay men.
Okay.
So clubs had to put forward a cult player from their club post 2001, and Rory came up in the team of the week.
Did he?
Came up as Stokes cult man. You know what I mean? Because, like you said, people remember him for that spell he had.
Well, you didn't need a corner when he was there throwing it in. It was a real threat.
It was worse than a corner. Some teams were preferring to kick it out for a corner, than kick it out for a throw-in. Yeah,
amazing. So
we might have him on next week.
Well, do you know what?
He's threatening to come on next week.
Be really interesting to talk to him and hear about his career from his point of view, as opposed to.
I've got two sons playing professional football now. So
So where are Ipswich? He's obviously Liam is playing at Ipswich.
And Finn's playing for Burton Albion. Yeah,
right.
Finn's a
Where
right
are
character.
Ipswich this weekend?
Ipswich, not sure where they are this week.
they're
at Brighton this weekend, and then Southampton next week.
Right.
So they must be on holiday. They're going to Brighton, staying down for a week, a few days on the beach.
No training, just a few ice creams, and walking along the way. Might row their way there.
Yeah, they could get the train from Brighton into Southampton Central maybe, and then stay there for the week. But actually, Rory and I had a lot of success with horses. Right, so Rory and I had syndicates. We had a horse called Moonlight Song, won 3 times. Town called Malice, won twice. And Rory named one called the Funk Soul Borough because its sire was called Woodborough.
Okay.
At the time when Fatboy Slim had a massive hit, and the commentator, it won at Redcar, and Rory's dad was there, and a couple of drinks. Rory's dad's a great character, proper true Irish fella, that very loud at times, and he cheered this Funk Soul Borough home. And the commentator was brilliant. Actually, I've got a feeling he's been in the news a lot for a very sad reason lately, but it might have been John Hunt, who lost his wife and 2 daughters. You see that? I did see that. Great guy, John Hunt. Right. We did mention him before, but I think he called it home and said, check this out, the Funk Soul Borough is going to win. Right, so it was a brilliant day up in Redcar. Wow. And I'll tell you why else I remember it, because there was foot and mouth at the time. Yeah, and when you walked into the racecourse, you had to walk through this like water thing where your feet were cleaned in some disinfectant or something. You know what I mean?
It's funny the things we do, isn't it?
Yeah, we were talked into everything, weren't we, back in the time?
Yeah.
But racing moves on.
Yeah.
So we're in a big, the last classic of the season, of the British flat season, is happening tomorrow.
Yes.
At Doncaster. And it's been won 4 out of the last 10 times by Aidan O'Brien, the Irish Coolmore stud.
Yep.
Trainer who is untouched in terms of classics and winning derbies and guineas, and he's won 4 of the last 10 St Ledgers. So it's actually the oldest classic. It's run over a mile and 6 furlongs, so nearly 2 miles, whereas the other classics is 2 over a mile and then 2 over a mile and a half. So this one's a bit further. They need a bit more stamina. He has a lot of horses that are bred to do that, so he has 3 of the 7 runners tomorrow. But Ryan Moore, his top jockey, is selected Illinois. You've been in Illinois, have you?
Chicago, yeah, of course, Chicago. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Of course I have. I was there a couple of years ago.
Play you in then.
You were. Yes, I have. Yes.
Yeah. So,
sweet home.
Yeah. Illinois is the big tip for tomorrow. So it's 7-4 at the moment.
Okay.
Favourite, but he has 2 other runners that could well win it as well. But for me, Ryan Moore choosing Illinois, and its form would point to it.
And what time is that tomorrow? Do we know the time?
I'm not sure of the time. It'll be about 3 o'clock, 3:30.
Right. Okay.
But prior to that, Michael Owen's stable has a horse running called the Wolf of Badenoch.
Oh.
In the 150. It's a 2-year-old race. It won its first race, and then it ran a really good race second time up. When it ran still a little bit green. Now, you know what I mean by green?
Yes, yeah.
So a little bit novice-y, a little bit didn't know what was going on. And this time out, I think it could well win a big prize there tomorrow.
So it's there ready to sort of keep your eye on it.
It should know the game a bit more. And it's about 7-2, so £2 wins you 7, or 20 wins you 70, or £2 wins you £7.
You know better than I do. You do your maths really well. So now, Sill, last week you came up with this idea, and I love it, is my 5-a-side sports team of the week, basically, of those who have done really, really well, those who have stood out. And last week I thought it was absolutely brilliant, and and I had a little sort of link in there as well, tweaked a couple.
You had about 70 players, didn't you?
I did the whole of the Bournemouth team for coming back at Everton. Who have you got?
So this week I've gone for Yannick Sinner, number 1 tennis player in the world, who was, as you said, awesome in the US Open, and
totally in control.
Yeah, totally in control. Looks at the top level, doesn't he? The old guard has probably gone. The 4 that we were used to seeing win, Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, and to a certain extent Andy Murray, one mopped up over the last probably 15, 20 years. Yeah. Yannick Sinner looked like someone who's going to be around for that sort of time. Very athletic.
Totally.
Very impressive. Second on my list, second in the 5-a-side team. It won the DP World Tour event in Crans in Switzerland. Matt Wallace in a playoff. Pressure was on because he'd been a little bit iffy, and it looked like the pressure was telling him on the back 9. And Garcia Heredes ran him into a playoff. Birdied the last to take it to a playoff, and Matt Wallace birdied it in the first play as well.
Wow, simple.
Brilliant. Brilliant answer to that. Then I'm going 100 England caps and 2 goals on your 100th England cap.
Yeah, well,
But it wasn't just the 2 goals. It was the difficulty and the execution of those 2 goals was beyond what all these people that have been saying, can't have Harry Kane, Harry Kane's gone, Harry Kane's finished. There ain't anyone else who could have scored the 2 goals like him.
No, I totally agree with that. Totally agree with it, and with, like, as we said, with a new manager in place as well, he delivered
absolutely
for the new manager and restored the faith.
I mean, all the knocking he's taken. If you take over a football club, say you take over, I don't know, Petersfield Town tomorrow, the most difficult position to fill and find is a goal scorer.
Of course,
we've got one of the best goal scorers in English history, and people wanted him out of the team.
Yeah.
And he comes and plays 100th game and scores his 67th, 68th goals or whatever they are. That's 2 in every 3 games he's scoring.
Correct.
You ain't going to replace
he's odds
that
on,
too
isn't
easily. Yeah, he is odds on.
Yeah. So
so I'm going my 4th one. is Lee Carsley. Yeah. He's going to get in every week with me. You know
I
that,
thought he was going to be top of your list, Sill. I was expecting him to come in right
Carzo,
at the top.
And Carzo's little line, yeah, man, he's in the team. Now, the last one, right?
Now, Sill, I just looked at your list. I couldn't even say it.
I was hoping you were going to say it because I can't say it.
So it says, I'm going to have to read it. So it's Mika Stojasevic.
Yeah. So she's a British girl.
Right.
Who won the US Junior Open in the tennis. Right. And that's gone unnoticed. But she was fantastic in winning that.
Uh-huh.
Imagine all the scholarships and all the top colleges the American kids have played in. She might well have gone to US college, I'd imagine. Yep. But she's come away with the US Junior title at the US Open.
How old is she?
She is 17.
Okay, right. She's okay. So right, and now you've saying it, I do seem to see a little thing about it. Yes, but I would never have got it from the name.
No.
So well, good on her.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And hopefully in 2 or 3 years' time, someone who can replace, or someone can really push forward. Eda Raducanu's victory, controversially, I would say, I'm sure will be her only major victory. So, form and stuff since then hasn't been repeated.
No. And everything.
I think that was a one-off.
But I think it's between the ears, a lot of that, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
And it could be with Draper as well, where we're saying he's come from nowhere up there. It's almost like you're not building your way there and supporting it. It's bang.
And she sacked her coach after winning the US Open.
Yeah.
For me, there's that ain't gonna last. There must have been many number one hits that one-hit wonders.
Of course, there are many one-hit wonders. Perhaps that's what we need as the next section. Who's your one-hit wonder?
Let's come up with that one. Come on.
I like it, Sill. That's how we do it. So, well, I've got to say, I can totally agree with you with Sinner, and we had Draper in there last week forgetting. I totally agree with you. Matt Wallace obviously wins the golf. I didn't watch it. To go into a playoff and have the nerve to birdie, mate. We've Harry Kane, Lee Carsley. For me, they've definitely got to be in there. But I sit there and I think to myself, what sport have I actually watched this week? Right. Mate, I literally haven't seen anything at all.
Really?
But what I will say is the moment I did get to watch a little bit of TV, and I think it was probably Tuesday evening, and it has nothing to do with sport at all, but I watched the Zelensky story on Vladimir Zelensky of Ukraine.
Did he play any sport?
Mate, no. The only sport he did, which I thought was amazing, was in the sport of comedy.
Oh, yeah.
So he was as a comedian, and he was in this show, and there was this footage of Vladimir Putin in the audience watching the show, and Zelensky taking the mickey out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was all 25 years ago. Yeah. So it was phenomenal. And what I'd say to anybody is, if there's no sport on TV, go onto the BBC iPlayer and just watch that programme, because it's fascinating. I didn't think I'd enjoy it as much as I did.
Right.
I think there's 2 episodes out at the moment, a bit more to come, I think.
Yeah.
It's absolutely brilliant.
Right.
So for me, I'm putting Vladimir Zelensky in my team of the week.
Let's hope he can keep a ball up or something.
But you can only go with what you're doing this week. That's all you can do. And I've been so snowed under with music. We've been lucky. We've been able to squeeze this in. If I'm totally honest with you,
you've done well
this week, and we've made it happen. We're in your garden. The sun's going down.
The bats are about to come out.
They certainly are. No, listen, Sill. We've done it again, mate. Well done. It's been great fun again chatting to you and coming around your house. We are Sillett and Reevesy, and we will see you next time. Take care. Goodbye.